Welcome to Homestead Reptown. Today it's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to talk about mourning geckos versus crested geckos. So I see a lot of people on Facebook groups asking questions if I can cohab my mourning gecko and my crested gecko. First off, I'm going to tell you that's a horrible idea, and I'll tell you why. And I can kind of see why people would think it's a good idea. Their care requirements are about the same. Mourning geckos want a little bit more humid though. They'll eat the same diet. They actually have a lot of the same needs, but this is an adult female mourning gecko, and I'm going to show you it compared to a 3-month-old baby crested gecko. And you can see they're about the same size. So this is a 3-month-old crested gecko versus an adult female breeding mourning gecko. That animal is microscopically tiny, and I'll show it versus a slightly larger gecko and then a slightly larger gecko. So you can really visualize why it's a bad idea. So crested geckos in their natural habitat, they will eat small lizards. So they'll eat baby crested geckos, an adult. They would eat in their native range. They would eat a gecko about this size. They're opportunistic predators. I think a lot of people forget that they are opportunistic predators. Now this is a 17-gram baby right here, and you can see this baby could eat that. I've fed this baby dubia roaches larger than this. This would be a snack. Look at that size. And some babies are a lot more predatory than others. Then we have this guy coming up here. So you can really see that the size difference between this guy, who is I believe he's 38 grams. I think he's 38 grams versus this mourning gecko. You can really see this guy's nearly full grown. So if you add a 40-gram gecko versus a mourning gecko, the mourning gecko is a snack. Look, that's just a little nutritious snack for this guy. Now, mourning geckos are actually really interesting. They're super flighty. So it's like holding a baby crested gecko, but a baby crested gecko on crack. They're jumpy, they're flighty. They calm down after a while. This is actually the first time I've ever handled this one. But they are interesting, and I can see why someone would want to do it, but it's just not a good idea. It's going to be eaten. But something else I've noticed, and this is just from filming this and like really looking at them, they look like mini chihuahuas. They totally look like mini chihuahuas to me. They have that kind of head shape. They have kind of that pattern. They look like my mini chihuahuas, and I've been wanting to get a chihuahua, so I'm going to just call them my colony of mini chihuahuas, even though they aren't. But they totally look like them to me. So I will confess something. So mourning geckos are escape artists. Anything that they can squeeze their head through, and you don't think they can get out. I've actually had to move my colony out of my exoterra because they're getting out and I don't know how. I have all the holes sealed, but occasionally I see one on my ceiling. So they're now in a bin. I took all their bioactive stuff and I shoved it in a plastic bin, and they're staying there until I figure out how to stop them from escaping. I say the escapees are actually living pretty well. I put Pangea out for them. My room is covered in tropical plants, so they're hiding in the tropical plants, and when I see them, I catch them. I have little Pangea traps in a little cup, the Pangea at the bottom. I stay up at night, wait for them to come down, put the lid on it, and then put them back in their enclosures. But in saying that, my crested gecko enclosures, all the ones that have the I Heart Gecko cages, these mourning geckos can slip in there. They can slip in there and they can eat the crested gecko food, and it's dangerous for them to do that because if they're in there, they could potentially be eaten by my crested geckos, and I've caught most of the escapees, and now there's just 2 feral ones roaming my room. I'm trying to catch them. They've been doing a great job eating the spiders, I guess, but they have to go back to their enclosures. But it is a horrible idea to cohab these guys. They should never be cohabbed with a larger lizard. Most reptile species shouldn't be cohabbed with other species. There are exceptions because I keep my mourning geckos with, well, they aren't reptiles, but dart frogs. You can keep mourning geckos with dart frogs. You can keep mourning geckos even with other micro geckos that want to live in the same type of habitat. And mourning geckos are actually social, so they need to be cohabited with each other. There are species that can be cohabited. There are species that absolutely can't be cohabited, and never put a predator and prey animal together unless you want one to be eaten. And this is a nutritional snack for your crested geckos. They're interesting, they're unique in their own way, and do you kind of see that Chihuahua type of look? It's really interesting. Their patterns are interesting. It's less dramatic than a crested gecko, but they're just a lovely little species, and the whole fact that they clone themselves and they're all females is just really unique. It's a really unique lizard. And again, I'm just going to keep saying it. I see a ton of people doing it. I see a ton of people asking questions about it. And I've seen people actually put mourning geckos in their crested gecko enclosure. They think, I'm going to take my mourning gecko and put it in there. It's going to get eaten. Don't do it.